Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. You know my lovely wife Hillary, who looks like a librarian with her glasses on.
I do not.
We haven't been around much this winter on YouTube, and the reason has been mostly because it's been a brutal winter. It froze up right around January 1st and stayed cold, colder than it has in a long time, right through till this week it's starting to thaw out. And I thought in this video I'd take you out and about because we can get out and about now. There's not a foot of snow on the ground and drifts and all that. And we'd look at the field that I seeded last year and the field that I plowed last fall. Go around and look at the livestock, the drainage system in the pasture. Mud season has begun, so we'll see a fair amount of that. And that's it, I guess. Yeah, I got some work to do on the tractor, so we'll throw this one in too. It'll be kind of this and that video. What do you thought of? What's your thoughts about this winter, Hill?
It was nice to hunker down for a little while.
What have you been doing?
I've been doing a lot of reading.
I don't know. I'm in this end of the house. She's in the other end of the house. I just assume she's doing laundry. Well,
Oh my gosh.
a quick story: when we were renovating the old house, it was lath and plaster, and half the lath was coming down. So anyway, we had garbage cans, steel garbage cans, and shovels, and we'd knock the plaster off the lath and shovel it up. Mm-hmm. And we had a trailer parked out back that we were living in, a house trailer, and we would pitch the garbage cans out the windows whatever room we were working in. Had the MD with the yellow trailer, had that yellow trailer way back then, parked against the window, and we toss it in.
Yeah, that's right.
It was nasty, dusty work. You know, that old plaster is just lime and sand and horsehair was the reinforcing. So anyway, we'd be working away at it, sweating in the summertime and shoveling it up. And then after a while, Hillary'd say, well, I think I need to go in and do some laundry. I'll be right back.
And then I just kind of wouldn't come back.
Yeah. Before I go out and about, we've got lots of stories like that. Before I go out and about, I want to show you what's been keeping me busy for a good part of this 2.5 months of nasty weather, and that's cross stitch. I finished a big project I was working on. Here's a little time lapse of finishing it up. This is the final stitch. There. Here's the whole thing completed. 2 years and 3 months. I think I did start this on the channel, and that's how long it took me. This is 91,300 stitches. And this is the front side. And here's the back side. And this is another one I started after that. First panel's done. It's a seaside or lakeside village. To me, doing cross stitch is kind of like doing a puzzle. The joy is in putting it together or making it, and then once it's done, actually it just goes into a plastic tote in a spare room of ours, and I don't know, maybe someday we'll frame it, but the joy is in doing it. This is the field that I seeded last spring, and it got lime on it, 2 tons an acre in the fall. There is a ton of clover in here, and it's just dormant. It's had snow on it all winter. It's still fairly green, but nothing's going to be growing here for at least a month and a half. Hillary and I will have to go around this field and reinstall some of the fence lines and the fence wires, but the cattle won't come onto this field until probably early to mid-summer, because I'll take first cutting hay off this. That's what I always do. The deal is when all of our fields have been seeded, and then after that lime application, they just explode the next spring. And it makes an awful good first cutting hay coming off that. And then probably I'll put the cattle on it for the first time after that, and we'll have to have the fences ready for then. And I'm just working down the slope here with plowing and reseeding. So this is the next field down. I plowed half of it because I'm going to subdivide it into 2 fields instead of 1, in keeping with our smaller herd size. This field was always a little big to begin with. It's 5.5 acres. Especially when we were doing strip grazing or mob grazing, it was a long ways to fence. Really, we found that about, was it 200 feet? 200 or 300 feet was a good width for fields to put cross fences in and move them without a terrible amount of labor. Anyway, it's been frozen all winter, but the clods really start to break up with the freeze thaw, which is why I plow in the fall, because Mother Nature can do some of the work for me. One of the things I also found when I got that John Deere plow all fixed with, new wear parts on things, it plows a lot smoother, and the cultures help too. I don't have as rough a field, and I've got a more consistent turnover of the sod. But freeze thaw is what breaks up clods like this. We haven't had a lot of freeze thaw this winter, unfortunately, but it will help anyway. And as soon as it dries out, I'll be on here with the disc working it. We haven't seen the grass for so long. Sure does look different. Howdy, cows. I thought so, Patty. Hey, you. Oh, you're usually friendly. This is our winter pasture exercise yard up into their shelter there. Here's a good idea of how much mud's in here, or how deep it is anyway. Well, I'll leave you in privacy. It's not like it used to be. Mud season is a part of life here in this region. It's something you cannot avoid, but it depends on the winter how bad it is. So what mud season is when the top of the ground thaws, like now we're getting a warm up and the top of the ground has thawed some, but you still have frozen ground underneath it. So water on the top gets trapped. And if you have hoof traffic, car traffic, people traffic, it muds up. It's unavoidable in trafficked areas. The trick here, and the drainage system did this, is to keep the mud at a minimum. And so what I've seen in the 2 years since I put this in, there's 4 laterals that run under here, and then there's a French drain or a curtain drain along both the barns that dump water into here, is that not enough water makes it in because of catching the roof water. And so it never gets worse than this. This is, of course, it was froze all winter, so it didn't really matter. But now that it's starting to thaw out on the top, we don't have a lot of collection of water and mud, which is a good thing. You sure are a motley crew. Now, here's Dom, the little bull. Hey, bud. He's gotten a lot friendlier this winter. Yep. You look good. You got some growing to do yet, though. He's got the idea. If that grass were a little greener, they'd probably all be really belly aching at me to let them out. You can see what happens though. The ground is frozen. Probably about half an inch down or a little more. It's hard, it's frozen. And water just sits because it can't get down in. Let's go down and see how the drainage outlets look. This is my retention area, all the way where you see the tall weeds. There's some dogwoods in there and stuff growing up. It's the lowest part of this field, and it retains the water that comes off of the winter pasture coming out of those two pipes there. They're both running pretty good. And then this whole ditch, and I've explained this before, but it always bears repeating, is kind of a settlement zone. So anything that's coming off of the field, especially that gets out quickly via those French drains, anything that comes with the water, as far as particulates or anything, settles out because this doesn't flow. It just kind of stands in here, and then it gradually trickles out that end and into all that low stuff there and percolates into the ground. That way we're capturing nutrients on the farm. So the whole idea behind this is I could, out here in the country, I could take the water off that muddy field, and it's got manure in it and things, and I could speed it right off to the ditch and dump it in the ditch. But I don't want to do that. We're at the top of both the Cayuga Lake watershed and the Chesapeake Bay watershed. And so if I discharge clean water, that's a responsible thing to do. And so this filters the water and perks it into the ground, and plants and organisms in the ground clean it up before it comes underground off my property. It's percolating in. The same thing happens with the diagonal swale you see in a lot of the drone shots of our farm. That's a slow-moving water channel with a lot of natural vegetation in it, or wild vegetation, that filters the water before it runs off of our farm. Let's go in here and I'll show you what happens at the end of the line. So that swale that starts at the pipes outflow up there gradually gets shallower and shallower as the land drops, and then it sort of comes to an end here. I think this is where I ended with the digging, and it just filters into this wet area, and it has lots of room to percolate into the ground. Hey guys, it is getting to be that kind of running around weather after a long winter. This whole area is really nice. You know, we spent a lot of time cleaning up stuff we don't use anymore and brush and things, so this used to be filled with just junk. We've got 3 broiler boxes still here. I got to find a place to get rid of those tires, and just 1 eggmobile, and the rest of the field is clean. It's that way all over our property, and there's one area that we still have to clean up. It's right over here past the broiler house. This old pig pasture here. Remember the brooder, the old brooder house was right here. We cleaned that up. We cleaned all this stuff up around the house. It's awesome, but this is still a mess. Every single black walnut tree in this lot where we pastured the pigs is dead. Except for one. I put a red dot on it with spray paint back there. That one's half dead. That's what pigs do. So this spring, as soon as it's okay to cut wood as far as temperature and ground and things, all this has got to come out, and then I'm going to run the excavator over and try and flatten it and run the cattle in here a few times a year to keep the brush down. Our septic outflow is in over on the edge of it, so I can't traffic them too much over this. But I guess the right word isn't oxymoron. It's kind of, pasturing pigs is, it's nonsensical. Because the minute you put a pig on a piece of grass, unless it's one of the little pigs that we haven't found to be commercially viable, Mangalitsa or Kuni Kuni, because they grow so slowly and there's so much labor. Anyway, they root and they dig it up. In the fields that we have where we're running cattle and we're making hay off the same fields, they destroy the fields. And once they tear up that ground, that opens up the seed bank in the ground, and you have weeds coming up. And we see a similar thing with laying hens. If we leave them for more than a few days in a spot, they start to dig. So they don't really fit with a pastured system like we use. It took us years to figure that out. It took us years to figure out too that, well, I knew this from day one. Neither Hillary and I like pigs very much. And I got to be honest, they remind me too much of people. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but they go into an area and they just destroy it. They over extract from it. They eat the bark off the trees. They dig up the ground. It looks like the moon a few days after they get in here. I'm not a fan. So we're happy not to be raising pigs anymore, even though I get every video somebody saying that they miss the pigs. I sure as heck don't. And this is the last of their destruction that we have to clean up. Can you pasture pigs in a better way? No. Can you pasture cattle in a woods? Because people say, well, why don't you use your woods for pasture? No. Cattle will do the same thing. They'll browse like deer do. They'll eat low branches. All the delicate things that grow in the woods that are part of that forest ecosystem, to have cattle tramping around in them, it's not good in my book. You can say your forest is part of your pasture land and think of it that way. It's a different kind of thinking than I have. So the woods remains untrampled, I guess, because of all the destruction. And I imagine if I brought pigs through there, oh my gosh, so when we cut wood, we always leave seed trees in the forest. So you don't go in and plant trees. That's not the classic forestry system for smallholders like us. You leave seed trees, good examples, mature examples of the type that you're cutting to reseed the forest. And so that's the forest is self-regenerating. Well, if you're running livestock in there, they're clearing all that stuff out. That's the first thing they're getting, the little maple seedlings. Since the deer population has increased, it's been a problem even just from them. Maple replacements, because they browse the seedlings in the winter. So we want to keep the forest floor intact and not have our animals browse it. Or the same thing that happened in this lot. The pigs girdled all the trees and they all died. And so now we're faced with just clearing it out, just like we did with the other lot where the giant walnut tree was that I cut down a couple years ago. That was all girdled and dead. I want to be clear about this because it's an important distinction. You can't graze pigs on grassland like we have for more than a half an hour without moving them, because immediately they start to root up the sod. Now, if you have a farm where you're not running hay and making hay off of it, or you don't have to worry about cattle stepping in a hole and breaking a leg, that may be fine. But that's not the way our farm works. Yeah, I could have gone back and fenced every one of those trees, but that's just goofy. It really is. To run an animal in a lot like that, it just doesn't make sense if you have to go to those extremes just to get them in there. So field, forest, it don't work in our system. Rant over. I have a lot of pent-up feelings about the issue. Howdy, chickens. How are you gals doing? There's always one in here. And an egg. What do we got in the flock now? Barred Rocks, Ericanas. These are a heavy white. I can't remember what the breed name is. Rhode Island Reds back there. A few various pets of the kids, because they get some every year of a different breed to tame. And they're laying right along now. The chickens in the winter have small outdoor runs, one on this side, one on the other side past the barbecue grill. Hillary's got them both open today. She doesn't open this one when there's a lot of snow, because the chickens, they won't step into the deep snow. They just kind of look out the doorway there if she doesn't clear a little path for them. Egg production, well, it's pretty good these days. Howdy, missus. We had some chocolate eggs this year, one of the kids' pet breeds. as well as Easter eggers, greens and blues and pinks and browns. Hillary and I start our day every day with eggs from the day before for breakfast. And for years and years, I've been eating all the different colors of eggs. And can I tell the difference in flavor? Boy, she's mad. No, I can't tell. I can't tell the difference. One may look prettier than the other, and I'll have people at market say, well, they want the one with the most green eggs, but I think it's more the novelty than the flavor. I can't tell the difference. Up this way, you may be able to tell that the pile of wood is a lot smaller than it was when we started the winter. We had 4.5 rows in here, and now there's 1 2/3, and almost nothing cut for next winter. We got to get to that. On the egg color thing and flavor, I think the thing that affects flavor is what the hen is eating and the environment that the hen is in. So I do see a difference after the hens go out into the pasture and start eating a lot more greens and bugs, and the eggs get very rich. And then they're not quite as rich in the winter time. It's certainly anything, winter or summer eggs here, whenever I crack an egg or go to a diner and have an egg from a confinement house, it is a big difference. Our farm is arranged so that wherever I am in the winter, the cattle are centrally located so they can yell at me wherever I am. Even from up there. This lot here, which is below the winter quarters for the cattle, the pen, is where I stack manure to compost. And until this year, we had lots of problems with wetness in here because of this big roof off the pole barn. I caught that end of the roof with French drain when I put in the drainage system, but not this end. This end comes down through this gutter and then down this ditch, which, like the swale down at the bottom there that I showed you earlier, has a shallow bottom slope to it, so water doesn't flow very fast. I mean, you can tell grass is growing in here, and I just dug it late last spring. It comes down here to a collection area, or a sump, and then there's a soil separation where the French drain starts over here. Right here it is. So end of sump, and then start of French drain. Start of the French drain kind of angles down as you go down underground and comes around there and comes down a pipe out there. The whole idea of this sump is that anything that this picks up as far as soil, as it comes down here, will settle out here. And then periodically, I don't know how many years in between, but I just come in here with the excavator and scoop that silt out. We'll see how it collects. It may just have more permanent grass growing in it and not collect much of anything. Here's the cattle's winter quarters, and their bedding pack is about 2 feet tall on this side, and it tapers down as it goes over the wall because they do pull some hay in, which is fine, from the feeder panels on this side. Hi, Ginger. I have a lot of videos talking about winter bedding pack, but it seems like I'm always getting people that don't understand why. Number one reason why is because I don't have a lot of windows that I can clean manure out in the winter time. The conditions have to be right. So right now, it's a sloppy mess. Not good. When everything was froze up tight, the edges of the pack were frozen, and I couldn't take it out then. So it's continued to accumulate, and that's actually not a bad thing. To compost this in place is great. And we come in and renew it, and it needs to be renewed usually when we feed. We'll come in and renew this. It needs to be renewed now and keep bringing it up. There's lots of beneficial aspects to doing deep pack. Winter sacrificial yard and deep pack bedding is a tradition in the Northeast. It's been around here for hundreds of years. Probably in Europe, well, that's where it came from. There are lots of different ways, as I'm fond of saying, for raising cattle in a climate such as this. We choose this way. It doesn't mean there's other viable ways, and it doesn't mean that this way is not viable. It's just a choice that we make, and it is viable because we've done it for quite a while. This will continue to build up. I need to clean this out in the next couple of weeks, and it'll go over onto the pile. It will not go straight into a manure spreader. I will not spread manure out of the pack on the fields when the fields are frozen or when there is frost in the ground because of runoff. I'd rather compost them in the pile there and then spread them later on. So I like to be able to compost them for a year or so because that locks in more of the nitrogen into the bedding pack products and more of it winds up on the soil instead of escaping to the atmosphere when you spread raw manure. The other reason I can't spread manure right out of the bedding pack is because when I close this off and I start to pull manure out of here, I need to take it all out of here because it makes piles and a mess. I can't let the cattle back in till it's all out. I can't haul it all out of here and spread it on the field in a day. I can't. There's probably 30 or 40 loads here, and the cattle got to come back in to eat and drink. So that's not the principal reason I let it build up. I let it build up because of the beneficial bacteria in the pack and the heat that the pack generates, but it's a side reason. Let's go and look around inside. There she is. I'll cover this in a few minutes. This is what the inside of the pen is. Nothing special. They'll go through this hay probably day after tomorrow. We'll come in with new bales and then we'll put more on the bedding pack. And what I use for the bedding pack are these mulch hay bales here. These are poor quality bales and they're what I have on hand. Straw is expensive in this area. I always have some hay that is better to be used this way than for feeding, so that's what we do. This is how much hay we have left for the season. There's 2 stacks plus this. Each stack is a little over a month, so this will get us through till March, April, into May. We won't be feeding into May, hopefully, and then it'll be renewed when I do first cutting hay, usually in late May or early June. And this is my Farmall 856, by far the tractor that's taken me the most hours to get to this point in restoration. So many sub-assemblies that I had to go through, so many more parts, so much more cleaning and painting, and it's not done. And the reason it's not done is because usually in the wintertime I'd be working on tractor restoration like this and I could get outside to clean parts. I won't clean parts inside. I come outside. It's too dusty and dirty and everything gets covered. It was just too darn cold and windy to clean parts. And additionally, I'm principally down to sheet metal, and boy, sheet metal is just a bear to clean. So it's sat like this, got a fair layer of barn dust on it, which is no big deal. It's not a museum piece. It'll wash right off. And I'm proud of this tractor. I guess I'm just intimidated by that final big hurdle of going through and cleaning off all the sheet metal and redoing the seat, which is a lot of screwing around, and that's where we stand with that. I'll probably get the 756 out of the shop and then I'll knuckle down if the weather's cooperating and try to get to it. I came in, so you guys decided to come in to air your grievances, huh? You got plenty to eat. There's always something better on the other side. So that is my tour around the farm. Wet. This is the season I always am most hesitant to film things because it's muddy and there's no way around it. Piece from my tripod. In the International truck, the engine's ready to put in. People ask most every video, what's going on with that? Well, the answer is, it's sitting here. I'd want to be working on it on a warm summer day under a tree. That's my plan. Now for the next part of this video, I'm going to head in the shop and do a little work on the 756. Although it's going to be a while until I get my injection pump back, there's some other things I can do on this tractor, including swapping out the rear wheels. Just take a little bit of weight off of this, one side at a time. Smoking. These are 34-inch diameter wheels, same as 856 as far as the rim and the tire goes. Happens to have the same size tires on it. width-wise too. Well, that one was easier. Probably would have been better off leaving the nuts out like this, because usually the battle is with getting the shank of the bolt through the hole because it's jacked with rust in there. So that's what I'll do. So I have something to hit without damaging the threads. That's all the clamps. These tires are not loaded. There's no liquid in them. And this tired old tire goes out the door. Somebody will need it for something. Not me, somebody. Now out of my pile of wheel clamps and bolts down here, there should be two that are different from the rest, and those are the ones that grab on to the lugs on the rim to hold the rim from sliding. Here we are. These are the alignment clamps, and the rest of them, there's 12 total, 10 normal clamps. This is my grease board. My old grease board has a whole bunch of stuff stored on it out in the barn, parts. So this is my new grease board. I was wrong about the tire size. This had 16.9 34s on it, and the ones on the 856 are 18.4 34s. So she'll look a little beefier. They got lots of barn dust on them, but we'll clean them off when we pull the tractor back out. High enough now, and we want to go to the outer ring on the rim. There's two rings on here. You can put them on the inside and increase the tread spacing a little bit. Put them on the outside, push the tire in. I guess I just like the way this looks on this tractor with it in. Now you can see these bumps. See that bump? These are locks to lock the wheel center to the rim. And I guess this one's only got those on it. The rims I put on the 856 had more, but we want to find two of those that'll line up with a hole and put our lock clamps on them. Just spin this. So I've got one in line with that hole and one in line with this hole. It's easier to run these lock clamps up on the top and then kind of set the tire over them. It'll hang from them, but this just happens to be the way the tire rolled in. And I had forgotten about that, so that's the way it goes. And then just go around and put the rest of them in. I ran the bolt shanks through the weigher wheel to clean them up, greased them. They're all on, all 12. Now I just go around, tighten them up in turn. Can I get this out? She's dirty, but it's a whole lot better than the old tires that were on it. These are actually in pretty good shape. I just took them off the 856 because I wanted to put 38s on it. One wheel's on. These are the good old Firestone Sat 2 23 degrees tires. It's a bias ply. It's a little bit wider, of course, than the old one, so it stands a touch taller. It's got a little bit taller sidewall. Let's see what these tires were. Stowmill? That's hot. They look like no names. All I can find on it is Stowmill. I've never heard of that. Olsted tin. Stillmill Olst tin. This time I'll do this the easier way. These are the first blocks, the shorter ones that go in flush. They don't press out with an angle onto the tire rim. And they go at 90 degrees to each other, so skip 2 holes and the second one goes in. Finger tight for now. Rotate them up like this, diagonals. Spin the wheel center around to match the nubbins on the rim, and then shove it onto the nubbins. And then there we go. Raise it up a little bit so it hangs off of them. Now, since I have the tire hung here and here, it's stable, and I can go ahead and assemble these clamps, which work their way out on the rim like this to increase the clamping force on here. Now, I got one other thing to look at. Just wait a minute. These are 11L15 tires I originally got for the 856 when I thought I was going to leave the 34s on the back. I went to 38s and 16s on the front. Originally I thought they were too fat for this tractor, but now that I have wider tires on the rear, I don't know. I don't know if that would look good or not. It needs a new rim on that side anyway. That rim is bent. Yeah, it looks like one or other the front, well, this front wheel was replaced sometime down the line and has a slightly different rim on it. You can see how the set-in is wrong on this one. It's really tight and it kind of wobbles as it rolls. So I would need at least one new rim. I'd need 2 for those wheels. I don't know. It seems to go with the fatter rear tires. What do you think? I'm on the fence. That's my 5-cent tour with a couple opinions thrown in and some work on an old tractor. That's pretty much life for me, and I enjoy it. I'm happy to live where I live and have what I have at this age in my life. And I'm happy to have you all interested in what Hillary and I are up to. I do appreciate you tuning in very much. I'm sorry I wasn't around that much in the winter. Sometimes, you know, you just need a break. It's not a race, it's a marathon. So I'll be back soon, and as the weather improves, I expect the video frequency to continue to increase. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.